Okay.
So you'll have to just go check out their website and go visit them.
Perfect.
But yeah, Z Farms Organics and Dover Plains are.
Day 1. Morning milking. I learned how to use the milk machine and how to clean it. I met some of the beef cows. Weishi, pronounced Wei-shi, stood out to me because of her huge size. I was nervous to get stomped by the cows, but Becky wasn't, so it was okay. Then Becky had to unhook them from their stalls so they could go out after milking. They were waving their heads all around, especially Velvet. After milking, we fed and watered the chickens while Bart changed for the post office. Then me and Becky went for a tour around the area. Everything was so beautiful and the houses were very historic. I learned about a new kind of house, called an eyebrow colonial. Becky really hates new houses, and so do I. Then Bart got home from the post office and we all went to Johnny's, the mountain man, to pick up chicken processing equipment. Johnny was one of Bart's oldest friends and he's always barefoot. Bart says he's one of the toughest guys he knows. When we went, he didn't talk much, but he also didn't shoo us away. I forgot to mention Bart's truck sits 3 across, which is very cool. Day 2. I actually successfully hand-milked. We will see if I can keep it up. Later, we ended up at Jack Schoonmaker's house, and he gave me a tour of his property on his golf cart. And then me and Becky went inside for him to read us an article and peek around his house. It was my first celebrity moment, and I loved it. He was 90, and his family had been farming on that piece of land for 12 generations, since 1680. After that, we came home and I fed the beef cows a whole bale of hay and was very proud of myself. For dinner, we had venison shepherd's pie, which was a perfect meal because I was tired and it was a little cold out, but the meal was warm and comforting. Day 3. Chicken processing day. It was early chores and setting up for the chickens. Then Indigo, Terry, their son Iron, and John came. Aunt Needy and Jackie, Bart's aunt and mom, came a little bit later. When we started, Bart said, "Come on, Kristen, let's grab some chickens." And I said, "Okay." And he gave me a chicken in the coop, and I had to put it face down in the cone. I didn't love that job because the chickens were flappy and hard to manage, and putting them in the cones can be a little morose. Then I learned how to gut the chickens, and I really liked that. I wasn't very good at first and didn't know where everything was. Bart helped me with the neck while I pulled the guts through the butt. Then I got better and was able to do the whole thing myself, even to the point where I was teaching Terry how to do it, and me and Bart had a running joke that Terry was giving him all the bad chickens. At dinner, Bart kept saying how impressed he was with me for sticking in there. It felt really good to hear, and we all had some deep belly laughs on the porch. Day 6. Taking Anthony to slaughter. I started the day with morning chores, then Aunt Needy and Jackie took me to church. The church service was super boring, but the organist let me see his organ upstairs, and he had a really cute dog with him. I don't think that the Holy Spirit was there except for when we would giggle under our breath to each other. Later, we had to load Anthony up. I think the saddest part for me was when Bart had to trap him in the headlock while he was eating, and then Anthony's confused face when the trailer started backing up into the pen. And then when we dropped him off, another cow in his holding pen jumped on him, and I was real concerned about him getting bullied. The drive to the slaughterhouse was so beautiful, though. I tried being all sad and looking out the window thinking about Anthony. Wayne said something like, "What are you sad? You can't get sad if you're a farmer." Wayne is Bart's brother, and he's really funny. He's always cussing or complaining about crooked politicians. He said, quote, "He's so crooked they're gonna have to screw him into the ground when he dies." Wayne and Bart love that word, crooked. Day 17. Yesterday we had to dehorn, castrate, and tag some of the young calves. It was incredibly intense. I thought the cows had gotten hurt in the headlocks, but here I am looking out at them perfectly fine, if not a little emotionally damaged. I also realized watching Bart the amount of skill and strength it takes to wrangle a cow. Even a calf has so much strength, and they're kicking him and trying to hurt him and escape, but he's just so comfortable around them. Day 18. Today we picked up Anthony's meat from the butcher shop. When we were leaving, Joe the butcher stopped by Bart's car window and told us how good the marbling was on the meat, and to send him every cow that way. He was wearing a funny shirt that said, "Guns have 2 enemies, rust and politicians." I think I remembered seeing that shirt on the boardwalk. Apparently, he's the best butcher around and is the most humane and precise when slaughtering the animals. The place is extremely clean and well kept, and even has this beautiful little pond with the weeping willow outside. Later on, Becky made us some steak. It was a chuck steak, which I never had before, and it was so good. After we went to look at the sunset, and then to the barn, and Bart showed us his vision for creating an area for square dancing parties. Him and Becky twirled around showing me how to square dance the real way. We had so many giggles and laughs, and thinking back, I decided it was the steak we ate from Anthony that contributed to the joyful energy of the night. Day 19. Today we're selling our meat, and Becky has lots of customers lined up. She's excellent at the business of selling meat. Watching her with customers is amazing. Our freeze was on the fritz in the morning, and these awesome refrigeration people came and helped us. We sent them home with feta cheese and some meat. I love how people here still act like they're part of a community. Later on, I went alone to Indigo and Terry's for dinner. We had one of the chickens we slaughtered and veggies from our garden. We talked about some very interesting topics, and Ira and their son gave me a good night hug, which I felt very honored to get. On the way home, I knew all the turns and was listening to music loud. I had the truest sense that I had made friends and a home here. Day 22. I was sad today for no good reason. I went to the barn to brush Zip and Bolt and listen to the radio. Zip lets me hug her around the neck for about 3 seconds before she shakes me off. Day 29. Cato Corner Day. Today we went to Cato Corner in Connecticut. This was my first time in Connecticut, and it looked a lot like New York. We met Lily, Becky's cheese friend, my new cheese friend, in the raw cheese make room. It had windows that looked out at the Jersey cows. Commercial cheese making is pretty intense. You have to scrub in every time you touch the cheese. It was interesting, though, because you became very aware of where your body was in the room. Lily was good at telling us what not to touch, too. We got to hoop and flip the cheese. After cheese making, we got to try the cheese we made, Derriere, which is a silly name, but it was so good. One of the best cheeses I've ever had. The drive was 2.5 hours, but went by fast. On the way there, Becky told me her whole life story while it was pouring rain on the highway. It was nice to learn more about her. Day 30. Magical Porch Day. The whole day we sat out on the porch with friends and family. Harlow calls Billy Bob Bill Bob. Indigo taught me more about intuition. For dinner, Jackie and Aunt Needy came. After we ate, we drove up on the hill and watched the sunset. It was glorious. Me and Bart picked horse nettle out of the hay drying up there. Then we all came back down and watched Botched and ate ice cream cake. Me and Bart really loved that show. Day 31. Last full day. We all had the best time tonight. Me, Becky, Bart, Michelle, and Paul all went to the Peterskill, the most incredible swimming hole that I tried to swim in almost every day. Becky got in with me, and then Bart had to get in after he saw Becky in, but he didn't stay long. After that, we went home, and we had an incredible cheese board with some Cato Corner cheeses. Then me and Bart went out in the pasture when it was almost too dark to see to check on Aiko, who looked in labor. We went to Cherry's after, which is a cool hipster ice cream joint. Then finally, we parked next to the racetrack, and I got to see one heat. The cars were super loud, and there was so much dust. I was really happy, though. I've been asking all month for someone to take me to the racetrack, and on my last night, Becky and Bart showed me it. Day 32, Departure Day. I really didn't know if I was going to cry, but when I started crying while hugging Bolt and Zip goodbye, I knew I wouldn't be able to stop. I gave Becky and Bart cards and a wall clock since Bart always asked me the time, and I got them a framed photo of me and Bart. Becky put the photo on the family photo wall, and it was really sweet and sentimental. I was crying a lot when giving the gifts. I tried not to look in anyone's eyes and played tug-of-war with Molly instead. On the long ride home back to Maryland, I thought about this experience and how it was so much more than I could have ever imagined. I hope I can encapsulate even a fraction of my time there with this video. I have a million thank yous to say that I couldn't possibly fit. I will say that I urge anyone thinking about trying this program to do it, even if you have no farming experience and are on a completely different career path, like me.